Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. My name is Abdi Malik, and you, my friend, you're watching Everything Abdi Malik. Okay, today, my friends, we're going to be checking out this video from Towards Eternity. I love these brothers and the way they edit their videos and the storytelling and the visual effects, and everything is just so captivating, and it tells the story beautifully. And sometimes they do use AI to bring the story, some of the parts of the story, visual side of it. Like they try to use AI to tell the story, to show how things have happened. And I just find it so captivating. And these conversion stories really touch me. Like as a Muslim who is born into the deen, sometimes we take things for granted. Sometimes we don't see the value, or we don't see the things that others go through to just practice the deen. And for us Muslims who are born into the deen, we really take a lot of things for granted. So watching this just reminds me to be grateful for this deen. It reminds me to be appreciative of the fact that I was born a Muslim, the fact that I'm not having to go through the struggle of trying to let my parents or my family be okay with me practicing the deen. So I'm excited for this one. And this one especially, just by reading the title, gets me excited. Okay, I left private jets and VIP life for Islam. This gets me because a lot of us Muslims are working towards that, like that lavish life. And this individual, it looks like by the thumbnail, it looks like a sister left all that to become a Muslim. Like unbelievable. Anyways, let's get right into it. Grab some popcorn and probably maybe a bit of tissue, because it might get a little, we might get a little emotional due to the okay, let's go. Bismillah. Let's give the video a thumbs up, because these guys, I love their work. So yeah, let's get it. Bismillah. I'll leave the closed caption on. Okay.
Into a Catholic school. I don't think I really had a relationship to God.
And it's not auto-generated, so let's get it. Bismillah. Okay, I'm done. Let's get it.
I went to a Catholic school. I don't think I really had a relationship to God. I was sitting in a cafe in London. Across from us, there were two young men.
See, this is what I mean when they use AI. Like this is AI, but it helps you really get the story just makes, and they also literally tell you it's AI generated. I love the transparency. It's just, yo man, let's give it up for these brothers. Yes. And I'm pretty sure there are some sisters that might be working with them, so I should probably say these brothers and sisters.
He's
this
from
is beautiful.
I was sitting in a cafe in London. Across from us, there were two young men. He's from a noble and one of the richest, wealthiest Arab families. From that moment on, my whole life turned upside down. Sometimes flying private jets, private planes. I flew with the Concorde. We had chauffeurs, maids, chefs. I mean, all you can imagine. To be honest, those conversations, they completely changed the way I was thinking.
Interesting.
So I started buying books about Islam. And the more I read, I mean, that was mind-blowing. Putting all the dots together made absolutely sense to me. And there was this live transmission of the prayer in Mecca. Sheikh Sudais was reciting the Quran. And there it just hit me, just like this. And I started crying and crying and crying.
Well,
so I went.
That is so powerful, because like a lot of us Muslims who are born into the deen again, a lot of us, we get to a point where our heart is so dark that the recitation of the Quran doesn't even impact us. Like it doesn't even impact us, because for so long we've just been doing certain things that just darken our heart. And then you have non-Muslims who hear the Quran for the first time and it just hits them. And you will be amazed, wallahi, the amount of conversion stories that I listen to where the individual goes, hearing the Quran had profound impact on me, and it hit my heart, and it made me want to learn about this religion, and it led me to becoming a Muslim. That's powerful, wallahi. The Quran is a powerful thing, but only if your heart is open to it, and if your heart is not darkened by sins and things like that of this world. This is incredible.
This live transmission of the prayer in Mecca. Sheikh Sudais was reciting the Quran. And there it just hit me, just like this. And I started crying and crying and crying. So I went to him and I said, what we're doing here is haram. And we either get married or have to leave.
No.
And he told me then that he wasn't ready for marriage. And in that moment, I just knew it. I can't anymore.
Wow. You see, that again itself shows the sad side of like certain Muslims. Wow. No, this is powerful, wallahi. Like, this guy's a Muslim. He was rich. He had the money. He had the private jet and everything. And he was inviting this non-Muslim, non-mahram to join. And just the fact that she heard that Quran recitation by Sheikh Sudais led her to not want to do this anymore. And she is the one that is inviting him to get married, to make it halal. And he's saying that he's not ready for it. Like that again shows the sad part of like side of Muslims nowadays. Wallahi. It's actually the non-Muslims who are around us that are like trying. It's just sad, wallahi. But this is incredible. Allah guided her through that man. Wow.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Patricia Venko. Welcome to Towards Eternity. We are very happy to have you with us. I want to start with, who is Patricia Venko? Can you tell us briefly about your life, please?
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for your invitation. I'm very happy to be here. About myself, well, I'm a German revert. My father was Greek, actually, and my mom was Czech. I grew up in a Christian but very liberal environment. At the age of 20, I converted to Islam. At 50, I started studying health psychology. And later on became the co-founder of Unaya, a supplement company. And today I share all my knowledge and experience on social media as an health advocate.
How was your life before Islam? Can you take us back to those days, please?
I went to a Catholic school. So I grew up there with, Catholicism and reading the stories of the prophets. My parents divorced when I was very young, and I grew up with my mom. She really prayed to God. She celebrated Easter and Christmas. So God was always there somehow. I knew He existed, but I never really went deeper. I never really asked what faith actually means. I don't think I really had a relationship to God. It was more the traditions which were part of my life, whether it was celebrating Christmas, very happy always with the presents, of course. In Germany, actually, everyone who's working and who is considering himself like a Christian pays taxes to the church. But
I want to comment on what she said about how she wasn't connected or had relationship with God, but she was excited for like Christmas gifts and stuff like that. And now I feel like a lot of young Muslims, like young kids or teenagers, are going through the same thing where they don't fully understand the deen. They're not put in an Islamic school to learn about the deen. They're not encouraged to learn about the deen or anything like that. All they know is like, oh, it's Ramadan, we're fasting. But why do we fast? No clue. Oh, it's time to pray. Some of them barely know how to pray or don't even know how to pray. So they just go along with emotions. But why do we pray? They have no idea. Why do we fast? No idea. Nothing. Who's the prophet? No idea. And it's kind of sad because it's setting up a whole generation is being set up in a way that they're not going to know anything about the deen. And it's going to slowly lead to a generation that doesn't practice the religion, a generation that doesn't know about the deen. It literally, that's where we're heading right now. And that's why I truly, truly believe that parents need to be putting their kids through Duxi, through the school. There's so many options too. It doesn't have to be in person. It can be online. It can be whatever. Just get your kids to be educated about the deen. Get them to learn about the deen as early as possible. And if you're somebody who's old enough, like a teenager who can understand what's going on, educate yourself about the deen, bro. But anyways, I just find it interesting how a lot of Muslims, young Muslims, are experiencing the same thing that she's describing as a kid growing up in a family where the two parents were divorced. That's another thing. There's a lot of divorces happening within the Muslim community nowadays. It doesn't matter where, and that's leading to kids being separated from both parents in some cases, and it's just sad, wallahi. It's just sad, our situation. But yeah.
My parents divorced when I was very young, and I grew up with my mom. She really prayed to God. She celebrated Easter and Christmas. So God was always there somehow. I knew He existed, but I never really went deeper. I never really asked like what faith actually means. I don't think I really had a relationship to God. It was more the traditions which were part of my life, whether it was celebrating Christmas, very happy always with the presents, of course. In Germany, actually, everyone who's working and who is considering himself like a Christian pays taxes to the church. But since my mom also left church actually at a certain point, she said like, why do I need to pay money to believe in God? You know, why do I need to pay taxes for it? So she left church despite believing in God.
That's the thing with like us Muslims. We're encouraged to give sadaqah. We're encouraged, and yes, we do have to pay a percentage of our income to. I'm having a brain fart, but still, there isn't like a constant like every month you have to pay this amount type of thing as a Muslim. And it's like in other religions where you kind of have to pay towards that one church that you go to. As a Muslim, we can pay our sadaqah or our whatever to anybody. When it comes to donations, just regular donations, you can pay at any mosque that you feel like needs your support, which every mosque needs your support. But that's interesting that in Germany you basically are forced to pay your taxes just like you're forced to pay your like property taxes in the US or anywhere like in any of the Western worlds. That's awesome. That's interesting.
Point. She said like, why do I need to pay money to believe in God? You know, why do I need to pay taxes for it? So she left church despite believing in God.
How did you first hear about Islam and how did your journey begin?
Well, I think my journey is quite unusual. It started during summer holidays. I went to England for a language course. And the day before flying back to Germany, I was sitting in a cafe in London with a friend of mine. And across from us, there were two young men. They approached us, we started talking, exchanged phone numbers. And from that moment on, my whole life turned upside down, 180 degrees. So I stayed in contact with one of them. And later on, he told me that he's from a noble and one of the richest, wealthiest Arab families. And we ended up being in a relationship for more than 4 years. And those were really the most crazy years of my life. I mean, I was a young girl from Germany, suddenly living a princess life. And it was just like a fairy tale. I mean, every girl wants to be a princess, right? So yeah, we were really having a very exclusive lifestyle, like VIP service all around the world, sometimes flying private jets, private planes. I flew with the Concorde. We had chauffeurs, maids, chefs. I mean, all you can imagine. I even met Michael Jackson, my boyfriend at that time. He had a huge passion for expensive sport cars. So sometimes we would just drive through London with a bright colored Rolls Royce or with the latest Jaguar sports car to a cafe. It was just amazing. It was just a crazy lifestyle. And we even drove through Los Angeles just like on a yellow Harley Davidson without helmet. Yeah, it was just crazy.
Wow. While I'm listening to this, it's just part of me just makes me sad, the fact that the wealthy Muslims are living this type of lifestyle when they could easily be helping. I know it's a whatever way to look at it, but that just makes me sad because this wealthy family, these wealthy people could easily be helping so many Muslim countries, so many Muslims who are going through so much, who are like deprived of the basic needs of life. And instead, they're focused on spending their wealth and money and everything in this way. And not only that, but doing it in a haram way. Now, I don't mean to become like the haram police, but that's just what's crossing my mind, is that they're getting into a relationship with it is what it is. It is what it is. But that's insane.
And you know, his family was always very kind to me. And what I loved most about them were their very strong family ties. Although he wasn't very religiously practicing, he still carried many of those core values of Islam. So very often we talked about religion, about women, men, about respect and dignity. To be honest, those conversations, they completely changed the way I was thinking. I mean, at the beginning, I didn't know much about Islam. I had all those typical ideas in my head that women aren't respected and poor them and that they are forced to cover up, you know. But the more he explained how valued women actually are in Islam and that modesty can even be a form of liberation, the more I started questioning my own life. Because indeed, if beauty is dictated by the fashion and by the beauty industry, how free am I really? Am I actually free to choose who gets to see how much of my body? Am I that free? Or is it just an illusion? And what happens if I choose not to show everything, for example, when applying for a job? I mean, is the outside really, really more important than my inner values and qualities? You know, and with time, I realized that women in the West started competing with men, trying to be like men, simply because they were not truly given the value and the rights they deserve as a woman. And
that is beautifully said. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. This sister should become some kind of speaker. Beautifully said.
Women in the West started competing with men, trying to be like men, simply because they were not truly given the value and the rights they deserve as a woman. And that's where my inner journey actually began, with that realization that there's another way of thinking and lifestyle and approaching things. So back then, you know, when I sometimes visited his home country, it was quite boring. There was no social media or anything at that time, and there wasn't much to do. So I started buying books and those old-fashioned big VHS tapes about Islam. That was what was available there. And at those times, Sheikh Ahmed Deedat and Professor Jeffrey Lang, these were the famous Dawa guys. So I watched some of their lectures, videos of scientists converting to Islam. I watched videos about the miracles of the Quran. And the more I watched and the more I read, the more I realized this cannot be from any other source than God. I mean, an illiterate man in the desert over 1400 years ago could not have known about flames in the depths of the sea, or that mountains, they have deep roots stabilizing the Earth's crust, or that the sun is actually producing its own light while the moon only reflects it. I mean, that was mind-blowing. And then I went even deeper. I started comparing religions because I thought, okay, how about Christianity then? And this was actually the first time in my life I truly searched for the concept of God. I started to read the Bible. It was the first time. And I watched many debates by Sheikh Ahmed Deedat. I mean, he was incredibly strong in comparing Bible verses and Quran verses and the Old Testament and all other scriptures. So he was so knowledgeable in going back to the original teachings. You just realize also that the original teachings of Jesus, peace be upon him, were just to worship one God. I mean, he never said he's one of three. He never claimed he's God. So things got changed much later on. But the original teachings are the same. And I mean, also the way he prayed, or that he fasted, that he didn't eat pork. I mean, so many things. Or Maria, you know, the mother of Jesus. I mean, she's one of our biggest examples. And also from the outside, you know, she's always covered. As I said, all dots, if you put them all together,
that's so
it just makes sense suddenly. Suddenly everything makes sense. And at some point,
like, for instance, the Maryam portraits that are shown within churches, and any picture that you see, she's always covered. And the other thing is, like, even the nuns are always covered head to toe, just showing the face. But then, and then you look at the Muslim woman. They look at the Muslim woman who's covered similarly. They say that is oppressive. But then you look at the nuns who are also covered, but they're not oppressed. Like, it's just double standard. Double standard.
I realized something very important, that the messages were always the same. the mother of Jesus, I mean, she's one of our biggest examples. And
Mhm.
also from the outside, she's always covered. As I said, all dots, if you put them all together, it just makes sense suddenly. Suddenly everything makes sense. And at some point, I realized something very important, that the messages were always the same. The source was always the same. From
The
Adam
interpretations
to
were, I
Moses
think,
to Jesus.
over time, the interpretations have changed in other religions. People started interpreting things differently and putting in their own beliefs into it to make the message be adaptive to their beliefs, their own desires and stuff, rather than changing their ways to adapt to the message. I think that's what happened.
To Muhammad, peace be upon them all. And then I understood that I don't have to choose between the religions, because if I'm a Muslim, I automatically believe in the true teachings of Christianity and Judaism. I mean, a Muslim isn't a Muslim if he doesn't believe in Jesus and Moses and all those before them. So
Facts.
putting all the dots together made absolutely sense to me. But on the other hand, I also feel things very deeply. And Islam spoke really to both parts of me. So then there was that
MashaAllah.
very, very special moment in his home country. I remember as if it was today. I wished,
Wow.
and Islam spoke really to both parts of me. So then there was that very, very special moment in his home country. I remember as if it was today. I wished to turn on the TV. So I took the remote control. I put on the TV, and there was this live transmission of the prayer in Mecca. And I think it was for the first time that I really, really paid attention. So Sheikh Sudais was reciting the Quran, and I'll never forget how his voice trembled. You could feel the awe and the love for Allah in every word. And then I looked at all those Muslims. They were standing side by side, bowing down, humbling themselves in front of God, united. And some of them were even crying. And they just hit me, just like this. And I started crying, crying and crying and crying. And I didn't understand a single word of what he said, but I think my heart did.
Wow.
And my soul did. And I think it's like, a baby that doesn't understand the words of its mom, but it recognizes her. And that's exactly how it felt. In that moment, I knew it. I just knew it. Allah really exists. And He's the one and only truth.
That is powerful. Wallahi, that is powerful. Like I said earlier, a lot of us Muslims, like, over time, our hearts become hardened to the point that the recitation of the Quran doesn't impact us. We don't feel it because it's just another thing. It's just another audio playing that we just completely don't even think about it, completely don't even whatever. And then you have people like this who and then you have people who don't believe in the religion, who don't understand a word that is being said, and they hear the recitation and it just completely transforms their life. And I say this, but if you're somebody that maintains their iman, that maintains their deen, that's connected to their deen, every Quran recitation that you listen to just boosts your iman. It just boosts your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you feel it at a different level. And I really, really hope that we all work towards getting there if we are not already there. And if we are there, I truly hope that we can maintain it, because as we all know, our iman goes up and down all the time. It's never stable. It's always going up and down depending on what we're involved in, depending on what we're doing. And I love it. MashaAllah.
And how did you feel when you took your Shahada?
So I went back to Germany. It was a small backyard mosque. The Imam was very nice. He smiled, he welcomed me. Germany, it was a small backyard mosque. And He's the one and only truth.
And how did you feel when you took your Shahada?
So I went back to Germany. It was a small backyard mosque. The Imam was very nice. He smiled, he welcomed me. So we sat on the floor in a circle, and he asked me a few questions, whether I know about Islam, whether I'm forced to it, or I'm doing this voluntarily. Yeah, and then he asked me to read the Shahada, and I still remember I felt incredibly light, like a deep,
Wow.
deep relief, as if my soul was saying, ah,
This gives me shivers down my spine here. Like, just it's an experience that,
I felt incredibly light, like a
mashallah.
deep, deep relief, as if my soul was saying, ah, finally.
Allah.
And so, how did your relationship develop after you accepted Islam? Did you tell him?
Yeah, well, I told him.
After you accepted Islam, did you tell him? And so, how did your relationship develop after you accepted Islam? Did you tell him?
Yeah, well, I told him, and he noticed as well, because my love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grew day by day. And
Oh
I
my
started to
Allah.
fast, I started to pray, but that also made me feel less and less comfortable with my fancy princess life, because
Allah.
going out to nightclubs with a hijab doesn't really make sense, you know?
No,
so
it doesn't.
in the beginning,
No, it
I tried to find
But the thing with this is, I've been hearing and seeing some clips of like nightclubs in Saudi Arabia, like backyard and like hidden back, what do you call nightclubs and stuff like that. And I don't think I've seen any clips of any hijabi or whatever, because it just feels weird, you know? It just feels weird.
compromise. So when I was in Germany, I wore my hijab, and when I was with him, I would take it off. And he was okay with it. He said, like, he doesn't want me to wear hijab when I'm with him. I said, okay. But deep inside, it just
Like that's sad. It really shows like the level of iman this individual had to, if anything, like I was expecting him to be excited, the fact that the individual that he's been spending time with in a haram way is finally accepting the deen, and finally the person that like he was doing haram stuff and traveling and doing all these haram stuff with is finally accepted the deen and is finally ready to be with him in a halal way. But instead he's telling her to not put on the hijab when she's with him. That is sad. Like, it literally shows where his iman is, and that's just sad.
my fancy princess life, because going out to nightclubs with a hijab doesn't really make sense, you know?
No, it doesn't.
So in the beginning, I tried to find a compromise. So when I was in Germany, I wore my hijab, and when I was with him, I would take it off. And he was okay with it. He said, like, he doesn't want me to wear hijab when I'm with him. I said, okay.
That's sad.
But deep inside, it just didn't feel right. It caused a huge struggle in my heart, because I can't live two different lives at the same time and be happy.
Yeah.
So I noticed also with the time, the closer I felt to Allah, actually, the more distance I felt between me and him. Yeah, and then one thing
sense.
happened, and I knew this could be the end. I was reading more and more about Islam, trying to learn, and I remember closing that book and thinking, okay, something is really wrong here. I can't do this anymore. Allah actually can't live two different lives at the same time and be happy. I'm with him. I said, okay. But deep inside, it just didn't feel right. It caused a huge struggle in my heart, because I can't live two different lives at the same time and be happy.
No.
So I noticed also with the time, the closer I felt to Allah, actually, the more distance I felt between me and him. Yeah, and then one thing happened, and I knew this could be the end. I was reading more and more about Islam, trying to learn, and I remember closing that book and thinking, okay, something is really wrong here. I can't do this anymore. I can't ignore this. So I went to him and I said, what we're doing here is haram, and I just can't continue like this.
Wow.
We either get married or I have to leave. And he told me then that he wasn't ready for marriage, but we could continue the way we did. And in that moment, I just knew it. I can't anymore.
No.
So I packed my bags and I left.
Incredible. The sad thing is, if she stayed with him and continued the way things are, he would have eventually left her for somebody else who was okay with continuing with the way things are. So I'm glad that she decided to be like, nope, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. Because even if she did not become a Muslim, or if she wasn't looking into the religion and trying to better herself and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she stayed exactly how things were, went on these private jets with him, went to the nightclubs and didn't wear hijab or anything like that, he would have eventually grew tired or just lost interest and found another new girl that would be okay with that lifestyle. So the fact that she decided to become a Muslim, learn about the deen, and go up to him and at least give him the opportunity to say, yes, let's get married and let's make things halal. She gave him that opportunity. He did not take it. And it's on him. It's on him that she, to not continue, to not make things halal. But if she stayed with him, I can only imagine how she would have been just replaced with another girl because he lost interest in her, or she doesn't look as pretty as she was before when he first met her and this and stuff. But the fact that she is the one that is taking the steps to make things halal and he's not interested in that really shows how some rich Muslims live their life. It's sad.
And so how did you feel when you just came home, ended the relationship that continued?
Or have to leave. And he told me then that he wasn't ready for marriage, but we could continue the way we did. And in that moment, I just knew it. I can't anymore. So I packed my bags and I left.
And so how did you feel when you just came home, ended the relationship that continued for 4 years?
That was really a terrible time. That was a disaster because I got back home and I didn't even have a place anymore with my mom. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? Because I just finished high school, but I didn't go through an education yet. No traveling anymore, no private jets anymore, no VIP service anymore, nothing. So I felt like a visitor back home because I stayed not only for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I used to travel back and forth. So I stayed, it was like, okay, forever now. Cooking, household, cleaning, everything just like continuously on your own. And it was very difficult. And realizing like, okay, it's over. And what to do now? So I thought like, okay, let me study Islam. So I went to the university and for some reason I wasn't very convinced. I thought like, oh, can I really do that? And very soon thereafter, actually, I met my husband then. So I didn't start anything really.
How challenging was it for you to embrace an Islamic lifestyle, such as avoiding haram and praying 5 times a day?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't find it that difficult because I was really convinced and I.
That is incredible because oftentimes I've heard some conversion stories where they find it very difficult to adapt to the 5 times a day prayer, and also the fasting is another thing that I hear a lot of new Muslims struggle with. But it's interesting to hear that she was not struggling with that side of things.
An Islamic lifestyle, such as avoiding haram and praying 5 times a day?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't find it that difficult because I was really convinced, and I'm still today, that the guidelines Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us are full of wisdom. I mean, they are there only for the good of society, and in particular for the good of women, for her protection, since she's definitely the more vulnerable person. I mean, women were given so many rights in Islam more than 1400 years ago. I mean, the right to inherit, the right to choose her husband, the right to divorce. They're only for the good of society, and in particular for the good of women, for her protection, since she's definitely the more vulnerable person. I mean, women were given so many rights in Islam more than 1400 years ago. I mean, the right to inherit, the right to choose her husband, the right to divorce, the right to earn and keep her own money, and even the responsibility to educate herself. I mean, these are rights women in Europe just only received recently. Facts. So back to your question, embracing an Islamic lifestyle, like, for example, putting on the hijab, was actually a decision I took in the bus. I still remember like today, I was sitting and looking at all the people around me, and I thought, am I really afraid of putting on a piece of fabric on my head because of what people might think or say? Or am I actually more concerned about what Allah thinks?
She's strong for this.
And the answer was very clear to me. So I started wearing hijab the next day. And I was so nervous. I remember my heart just went boom, 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 boom. But it was actually so much easier than I thought it would be. It gave me a very deep sense of wholeness because I expressed on the outside what I carried on my inside. Yeah, wow. So it was much easier to start with that hijab style.
That's incredible.
Have you ever experienced an extraordinary moment where you felt a special connection with Allah?
Oh, yes, several times. For example, after I divorced, my children and I had to start completely on our own. No money, no savings, no job, no family support, nobody there to help. I had to move to a new city and
That's
find a
sad.
place to live. And everyone who has ever tried to rent a place in that city knows how impossible it is. I mean, they ask you for income, deposits, guarantees. I didn't have any of it. And really, there are so many ads even of very well-educated people with a stable income searching desperately for a place. I swear to God,
Wow.
this felt like mission impossible. And I remember very well, I was sitting at my computer planning actually to start checking for rental ads. And at that moment, I went into full submission and trust. And I said, Ya Allah, guide me, show me where to go. And the first place I will get, I will take it.
This is deep, wallahi. This is gonna be emotional. I was not expecting to get emotional in this video, but damn. This is deep.
I was sitting at my computer desperately for it. I didn't have any of it. And really, there are so many ads even of very well-educated people with a stable income searching desperately for a place. I swear to God, this felt like mission impossible. And I remember very well, I was sitting at my computer planning actually to start checking for rental ads. And at that moment, I went into full submission and trust. And I said, Ya Allah, guide me, show me where to go. And the first place I will get, I will take it, because you know what's best for us. And
Wow.
it was on a Thursday. I checked up. It was the first time I ever checked up. And there was only one ad, newly placed, a beautiful house, big enough for all of us and affordable. So I sent a message to the people of the ad. And they told me that I could come on Saturday between 10 and 12 a.m. But they warned me that many people are expected, so bring a lot of time with you. I said, it's fine. Please share your address. On Friday, I checked the address. And you know what happened? The guy added a note to the ad saying, to everyone who was interested, please contact me again, because all emails got deleted by the system.
Ah,
I thought, strange.
yes.
But I didn't give it a second thought because I was more concerned about what to wear. I was so unsure about the hijab. I thought, okay, should I wear the hijab the loose way, a bit to
my
the back, you know,
God.
or the traditional way to the front? And I didn't want to come across too religious, you know. We're here in Germany. There's quite a lot of racism. And then I said, okay, God, this is all in your hands. And I will wear it the traditional way. And if we are supposed to live in this beautiful house, you will make it happen. So Saturday
Facts.
morning, due to another early appointment I had and heavy traffic, I arrived very late
Allah,
at 10:45.
no.
Family opened the door, smiled and said, welcome, you are the first one. I remember
How?
thinking, what? There were supposed to be so many others.
Yeah.
Just later on, I understood that most people never got the address since the emails were deleted. Subhanallah.
That is, wallahi, it's incredible. Like when you put your full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah makes it happen for you one way or another in a way that you never thought possible. Like she's very late to this meeting, and yet nobody has seen, nobody came because nobody got the address because the emails were deleted. Like that could not be a normal thing that happens. It must have been once, like in a rare blue moon or whatever type of thing, and it happened. That is just unbelievable. Incredible.
So long story
Wow.
short, the tenants had planned to recommend the first person they like to the landlord. Subhanallah. And at that morning, I was the first one that arrived.
Probably the only
and
one.
they liked. So against all odds, we got the house. And I swear to God, it was such a beautiful house. Huge garden, lovely Muslim neighbors. Everything
plus.
we needed was close by. And really, I cried so many tears of gratitude every
Wow.
single day. Because finally, I could give my children
Mm-hmm.
a peaceful and beautiful home.
Wow. That is deep. And having a Muslim neighbor.
You know, so many people search for
That's
years and never get a
incredible.
place. When you truly let yourself fall completely in full submission, only then Allah will carry you. And it is such a beautiful feeling. It's so difficult to reach.
That's amazing. That shows, like, if you put your full reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this case, in this woman's case, she was searching for a house in a place where it's, like she said, mission impossible to find a place. And not only income dependent, but also, like she was saying, people who have reliable job and have the means money wise were searching and struggling to find a place. But because of her putting her full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and leaving everything in Allah's hand, she got this beautiful house. She got this beautiful, not only this beautiful house for her kids and herself, but also having a Muslim neighbor is also a plus. Like, it's just, wallahi, this is incredible.
Sister Patricia, your Islamic journey also influenced your health journey. Can you tell us more about that, please?
After my 20 years of toxic marriage and raising my children, I hit rock bottom, as I said, and my body simply collapsed. I developed 2 autoimmune diseases, Hashimoto, years of toxic marriage and raising
That, please. Also influenced your health journey. Can you tell us more about that, please?
After my 20 years of toxic marriage and raising my children, I hit rock bottom, as I said, and my body simply collapsed. I developed 2 autoimmune diseases, Hashimoto and psoriasis. I had chronic inflammations, and I was really in pain every single day and night. There were times where I couldn't even pray standing anymore. I had to sit down. And I had hair loss, heart issues, brain fog, and a deep, deep exhaustion. No matter how much I slept, no matter how much coffee I drank. And whenever I went to the doctor, she just says, "Oh, how are you doing?" I just exploded into tears. And one time she looked at me and she said, "If you continue like this, you will end up in the hospital, either with burnout or with cancer." And that really scared me, because at that time, I was really afraid of getting cancer. At those times, I experienced again one of those miracles of my life. I was working in front of the computer, and my mom was trying to cheer me up. She told me on the phone, "Oh, go and check my Facebook profile. I posted something funny." I never did things like that. Never, 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 ever. I had absolutely no time. But at this moment, something really special happened. And I still remember it today. It really felt like someone is putting a hand on my hand, pushing the mouse. I clicked on my mom's profile, scrolled a bit, and suddenly there was this headline: "Breakthrough in Cancer Research, Healing Cancer with Berries." And from that moment on, I dove deep into research and holistic health. I was so thirsty for health. I was so obsessed with understanding. I just wished to understand how the body works. How can you put all the dots together? And I took hundreds and hundreds of supplements, tried everything, changed everything. I followed health experts from all over the world who claim to heal chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases. And here I am today. Alhamdulillah, it worked with God's permission.
What is biofilm?
That is incredible. That's incredible. The thing is, I know some of us have our beliefs about holistic health and stuff like that, but as Muslims, there are certain things, certain parts of it that we do believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can cure an individual through so many means. Now, I'm not saying that, berries or whatever she mentioned cures cancer or whatever, but what I'm trying to say is that we do believe that there are certain things that Allah uses to cure an individual of certain illness. So, yeah, but that's incredible.
It worked with God's permission.
What is biofilm, and what projects are you currently working on?
Well, biofilm is basically a sticky dirt in your gut that can make you sick. And from my experience, almost everyone has it, and probably you too. And by the way, biofilm is nothing new. Just think about.
Wait a minute. What is this? Now I'm really. What is biofilms? Please say more. Hold on. Let's
Well,
rewind this.
biofilm is basically a sticky dirt in your gut that can make you sick. And from my experience, almost everyone has it, and probably you too. And by the way, biofilm is nothing new. Just think about the drain pipe under your sink.
Okay.
There's always that kind of slimy, smelly layer that
I hate
builds
that,
up
but
in
yes.
the inside wall, right?
Mhm.
And something similar, like a slimy layer, can also form along the inner wall of your gut pipe, where the largest part of your immune system is. And that
Okay.
can be a real problem. And
That is
I honestly
that is true. It's even worse if you are somebody that eats junk food all the time. But okay, now I'm just understanding what biofilm is, because this is probably my first time hearing the word itself, but I kind of heard about the pipe under your gut and this and that. But okay, hold on.
something similar, like a slimy layer, can also form along the inner wall of your gut pipe, where the largest part of your immune system is.
Mhm.
And that can be a real problem. And I honestly believe the biofilm is one of the most overlooked topics when it comes to health.
I think I agree
even
with that.
studies published by the American Health Institute suggest that up to 80% of chronic infections in our bodies involve biofilms. It's crazy. And that's why removing biofilm in my gut changed everything. And when you
Wow.
remove it with my gut cleanse system, you can actually flush it out and hold it in your hands. I just love it. And you should definitely try it. So the problem
Wait. Is she selling something to us or not? Either ways, she got my attention.
in my gut changed everything. And when you remove it with my gut cleanse system, you can actually flush it out and hold it in your hands. I just love it. And you should definitely try it. So the problem is that with the lifestyle of nowadays, with all the food we eat, the processed food we eat, we're actually feeding the bad bugs instead of the good ones. So if you want to reduce the chance of a biofilm forming and growing, just keep feeding the good bugs. And they love nature. They love real food. They love whole food. And anything that's natural and clean, eat it. Anything else, leave it. And then you feed your good bacteria.
So what does Islam and medicine mean to you?
Well, I truly believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created our amazing body, carry us through this life. I mean, it's a gift from God. And one thing I realized throughout my health journey is that your body is always trying to protect you. And I really wished that medicine would focus on supporting the healing processes Allah created already inside of us, instead of just treating symptoms. I mean, why not try to understand what the body is doing? I mean,
a lot of modern health care, whatever, focus more on just treating the symptoms rather than the problem itself. Like, it's mostly just, treating the symptoms instead of taking care of the problem itself.
And I really wished that medicine would focus on supporting the healing processes Allah created already inside of us, instead of just treating symptoms. I mean, why not try to
They
understand
make more money
what the body
treating the
is doing?
symptoms.
I mean,
though.
why does the body suddenly increase cholesterol? Why do insulin receptors suddenly respond less? Why does the heart increase the pressure? Who's asking those questions? And if you really look for the reason, you'll be amazed, because your body is not failing you. Most of the time, it's actually saving you from something worse. And it really makes me sad that we as Muslims have so much clear guidance on what to eat and what not to eat, and even how much to eat. And if I'm not mistaken, in the Quran, there are only 4 verses that talk about eating what is halal, but always in combination with what is tayyib, which means what is good. So tell me, what is really good nowadays? Is sugar halal? Yes. But is it good for us? No.
Too
Is
many of it,
eating
too much
meat
of it? Nope.
halal? Hopefully. But is eating meat every day good for us?
No, not really.
And the halal stamp on the package doesn't mean it's tayyib. And I really think that Islam and medicine should go hand in hand. I mean, our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created with every disease healing.
Clear.
And by the way, this hadith is standing in my kitchen shelf as a reminder.
Wow.
What impressed you the most about Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam?
I think it's that he was known for being always very gentle, for always being very kind, and for being fair. Sometimes if I imagine living in that time, risking everything, risking your life, risking your status, you risk everything. You can lose everything and still remain friendly and loving and fair. I mean, that's unhuman. I mean, anyone would just be like really upset. Anyone would just like be like mad. Anyone would be just like, possibly turn to be unfair, but he wasn't. And to have that stamina, to have that courage, and to have that strength is amazing. It just can only be if you're chosen by God, if you're a messenger. Nobody else would do that.
Lastly, if you had 1 minute to speak to all the non-Muslims in the world, what would you want to say to them?
I really wished you could feel what I feel when I read the Quran. Some of those verses, they really move me to tears because I realize these are the words of the Creator. And no human being would talk like this. And there's one part in particular, after Allah describes all the signs of creation and all the evidence around, He asks mankind one question. So where are you going? I mean, you can chase goals, distract yourself, exhaust yourself, build houses, build families. He asks mankind tears because I realize these are the words of the Creator. And no human being would talk like this. And there's one part in particular. I wished you could feel what I feel when I read the Quran. Some of those verses, they really move me to tears because I realize these are the words of the Creator. And no human being would talk like this. And there's one part in particular. After Allah describes all the signs of creation and all the evidence around, He asks mankind one question. So where are you going? I mean, you can chase goals, distract yourself, exhaust yourself, build houses, build families, you can buy cars, you can fill your days and always struggle for more. And then pause for a moment, close your eyes, and when your Creator gently asks you, full of love, try to feel it. So where are you going?
Allah, that's deep. That is deep. That is deep, wallahi. Because if we're honest with ourselves, many of us are chasing that type of life where we're living lavishly. We have all the money we need. We're traveling the world. We're fulfilling our wildest dreams, building family, tons of property, this and that. But ultimately, all of these things are not things that we can take it with us when we leave this world. I mean, your kids can be a means of you entering into Jannah if you raise them correctly, if you raise them on the right path. But ultimately, a lot of us nowadays have lost the true direction of where we are headed. We have forgotten our purpose in this life. And whenever I listen or watch these types of videos, it really reminds me of why we're here. It really reminds me of what is the key things in this life. What are we chasing? And this is not to say that we as Muslims should not be focused on taking care of our family, providing for our family, working and stuff like that. But I truly believe that in the process of doing that, we should also be working towards building our akhirah, building our hereafter. I truly believe that. Go to work. Do what you need to do to provide for your family. Take care of your family. Spend time with your family. Chase your dreams. But while you're doing that, do not lose focus on what's more important. And that is your akhirah. Because you live in this life for 70, 80, tops 110. I don't remember seeing anybody go to like 130 or 120. It's very, very rare to see that. But how long are we going to live in the akhirah, the next life, eternity? So live your life here, but don't forget about your akhirah. That's truly what matters. I genuinely hope that we become people who don't lose focus of their akhirah. And with that being said, my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I genuinely enjoyed it. I want to check out more of these type of stories because I really find them very interesting. I really find them very uplifting. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Definitely drop some of your favorite videos like these in the Discord, and I will definitely check them up, inshallah. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you are one of the few who actually watched throughout, okay, and listened and watched this with me from start to end. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
عليك وسلم المولى محمد. I look up to the best of the men, and I'm working on the test to the end, by following the message he sent, and try turning these lessons into action. And oh, I pray for the day that I see you in my dreams. Rahmatul lil Alameen, for all humanity.